Raw, real, and just a little dangerous. This is Feral.
Di, I'm so thrilled to have you here because today, the theme that I didn't plan for, but about that seemed to have emerged when I'm hearing from participants today, the theme of the day is about letting go of crap.
Thank you very much.
And, you and I left this a little bit intentionally open so we could kind of catch all. But when you and I talk about being the You-iest You and owning your muchness, in order to be the You-iest You, which we will get to, we have to make room and we have to clear out a whole bunch of crap. So why do you think, not about the event specifically, but why do you think so many of us, as a former therapist, now super genius in a million different levels, and certainly as a neurodivergence champion and podcaster of the greats, like what's going on with why we're all carrying around so much baggage? Where did it come from? What's going on? And like, where did all this bulk accumulate?
Well, I think it starts in childhood, but so as not to bore the hell out of people. Late in the
Once
day.
upon a time.
Yes, it's late in the day, but I will tell you from having been a former shrink, and I might even say once a shrink, always a shrink, we learn in the first 7 years of our life who we are, how we are, and how the world works. Now, maybe nobody sits us down and says, now listen, you little squirt. But we are told you're the smart one, you're the cute one, you're the good one. Oh, I'm so glad you're not like your sister. So
You're
we
sporty
start
spice, you're baby spice.
There you go. And if you're neurodivergent like me and so many other entrepreneurs, you learn very early that you're different. And I don't care how progressive your parents think they are, or your school district, or your grandparents, or your neighborhood. Different is usually not interpreted as good, better, or best. It's usually broken, flawed, wrong, sit down, shut up, be quiet, and try to change yourself if you know what's good for you. So I think a lot of people roll into adulthood, not to mention entrepreneurship, with all that baggage thinking, there's something wrong with me, I need to change, I need to fit in. And for neurodivergence, there's this very perverse combination of feeling like we're both not enough and entirely too much.
So let's talk about that, because we call this the You-iest You. Let's talk about that intense dichotomy. I'm seeing a bunch of neuros shouting out in the chat. Shout out to the neuros!
Hey, friends!
If you're not normal, you can stay.
Yeah.
But you can stay. You might learn something. But shout out to the neuros. That straddling that razor's edge. Why am I such a monstrous piece of shit? Nobody look at me. / please look at me, 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 look at me. / they all looked at me and it was way too much. And now I got to go back into hiding. And we all have those cyclical feelings a bajillion times a day. Too much, too little, too much, too little, right? It's like Britney Spears has that great song called Piece of Me where she says, I'm Mrs. She's too fat, now she's too thin, right?
Yeah.
It's like big, little, and we all have that kind of thing. Where does that feeling come from? Is it because we're putting ourselves out there? Is it because we're being vulnerable? Is it because rejection? Is it a casserole of all of that? Like, where does this expand, no contract, no expand, no contract? Where does that dizzying tango come in?
It's like Alice in Wonderland. One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. But no matter what you do, especially if you are culturally conditioned as a female, no matter what you do, it's not the right thing, or it's not at the right time or in the right way. Or so I think if you have the frickin' audacity, let's be honest, to decide that you are going to make your living, you are going to make your way in the world based on your time, talent, and focus, that's pretty freaking amazing. I mean, most of the people you and I know are entrepreneurs, but we are just a tiny little sliver of society. So if you can make it that far, especially if you're neurodivergent, and say, I'm going to make my own way in the world because I either keep quitting jobs because they're just sucking the very soul out of me, or I keep getting fired because I just don't conform to the norm, then why not go all the way in the deep end? And instead of just settling for, I want a life of freedom, I don't want to have a boss, take full advantage of the opportunity to not only not have a boss, but to be the boss of your business, of your life, and do it your way. And I'm here to tell you, friends, the best way to do that, the least painful way to do it, although it does take a fuck ton of courage, is to be the you-iest you. And I know that's a made up word. For years, I was so embarrassed. And
all words were made up at one point, Boo Bear.
True that, but I because I have ADHD, because I collect information like a satellite dish from every place, and then my brain mixes things together and I don't remember where they came from originally. I have an entire language, not just a vocabulary of made up words that I don't really always realize are made up words until I get that very strange look from people, or I'm telling someone about a movie that I saw and they're saying, I don't think that's the movie you're talking about. I'm like, no.
Brad and I have our own language. So like, we don't call the basement, we call it the bossum. I have no idea why, but I'll forget. And people will be like, where's this thing? When they're over at our house, they'll be like, oh, it's in the bossum. And they'll be like, the what?
Okay, exactly. We have a clubhouse right in the community where I live, and it's called the Outlook. So I'm thinking, is it the clubhouse or is it the Outlook? So I always call it the outhouse, because my brain just gloms those two words together. So yes, I understand the you-iest you is not a real word, but here's the thing. So many of us go into entrepreneurship with all this baggage, all this thinking, there's something wrong with me. I can't keep a job. I can't stick with anything. I keep changing my mind. I'm too creative. I'm too this, I'm too that. But then what do we freaking do when we start our own business? We sign up for all the courses and the coaching programs that are taught by people who tell us to conform to the freaking norm. Like, dude, if you want to do that, stay in the job.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to give ourselves the permission slip and sign it to go all in on who we are. And in my book, that takes 3 things. 1, radical self-acceptance.
Yes,
2,
baby. Yes, baby.
2, rejection resilience. And 3, repel the rest so that you can attract your best. Those are the 3 things. And
say them again.
Power.
I'm having a heart attack. Say it again. A good heart attack. Say it again.
Okay. Radical self-acceptance, and I'll be happy to explain what that is. Rejection resilience, especially if you're neurodivergent, because a lot of us are major league rejection sensitive. And repel the rest so you can attract your best. Not the best. It's whoever is the best for you.
All right. So
where do we start, darling?
Gosh, I mean, we start with number 1.
Okay.
The very beginning, right? So radical self-acceptance. Oh, why is that so hard? Especially when we would think that entrepreneurs, we have decided to bet on ourselves or we wouldn't be doing this, right? And so in some way, it seems like radical self-acceptance and the entrepreneurial journey would be like peas and carrots. And kind of it is at the beginning when you're like, I bet on me. I'm brand new. I'm putting my shingle out. My business is a day old. But as we get further and further along, do you find that radical self-acceptance, we get better at it, it gets harder, it changes, it morphs? What's the deal with radical self-acceptance?
This is such a great question, Annie, because I've always entertained a lot of magical thinking. I think it's gotten me through some really dark times because I think, well, after all, tomorrow will be another day. Like I'm fucking Scarlett O'Hara, right? Exactly. Tomorrow's going to be completely different. Well, I thought that for the 2016 election. I thought I'm just going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up and I'll realize this was a psychotic break or something. Anyway, I think
and then it happened again.
We're going to keep this. Well, no, we're just, it's too, I'm just going to divert. So I think it's both harder and easier. It's harder because if you're wired like me or you, we have a tendency to be on the path of continuous personal evolution. We don't just pick and stick. We don't just pick one thing and then do it in frickin' definitely. We continue to evolve, whether that's, pivoting, rebranding, expanding our product line, changing our business model, growing a team, shrinking it. Like we keep switching things up because that's the path we're on. So every time you decide to do something new, your own brain, who should be your bestie, is going, this is the worst idea you've ever had. No, fall back. Because your brain just wants you to survive. It doesn't give a shit if you're happy or fulfilled. So every time you bet on you and you do something new, which is probably on the regular, You kind of have to run the gauntlet all over again and remind your brain who's boss. I always tell my brain, thank you for your service, because I know my brain just wants to keep me safe and keep me alive. But when I want to grow, I'm going to have to take risk. And why should I have another R? Risk tolerance. We have to be willing. I love my alliteration. We have to keep trying new things. And every time you try something new, your brain's going to fire up all the same old nonsense and throw in some new things just for shits and giggles. So you kind of have to keep going through it. I think of radical self-acceptance not as like a stage that you reach, like the stages of grief and loss. And once you get to acceptance, you're free. It's that you realize, oh no, this is a practice that you commit to, and you practice like meditation, like yoga, like anything. You just continually remind yourself, this is who I am. This is how I am. These are my values. These are my goals. Buckle up. We're moving forward. Your brain doesn't have to go along, but eventually it will.
Talk to me about the role of self-forgiveness in radical self-acceptance.
I love this question, Annie, because I think when I first started talking about radical self-acceptance, which I learned from the path of Buddhism that I've been on for about 25 years, I think a lot of people, especially in the ADHD community, understood it to mean, love me, love my ADHD, or what do you expect from me? I have ADHD, or, hey, I'm neurodivergent, deal with it. That's not what it is. It's not like shrugging responsibility off for how your behavior affects other people. Self-acceptance is the separation of love and approval. So even when I F up, even when I fall on my sword, even when I say just something so unforgivably stupid, I choose to love and accept myself no matter what. And then I make amends for the mistake. So it's kind of like, it's not like, getting out of jail free. It's not like hiding or running away from things. It's saying, I know who I am. I know how I am. And I know that sometimes my behavior has a negative effect on other people, or is at least confusing AF. And I accept all of that. And when necessary, I either make amends or just tell people, you know what? That was an unintended consequence. Please tell me I'm forgiven, because I've forgiven myself already. I don't put in that part, but it's like, if we don't forgive ourselves, life's going to get really tired, slow, and painful.
When you said separate love and approval, in my body, one of the things you can tell when a truth bomb hits me is because I immediately am like, oh God, I'm gonna. So for anybody else who just felt like they were gonna barf because of love and approval, I feel you, but I think it's a perfect tie-in to number 2, which we added another R to, which is both rejection and risk resilience. Speaking for me, I have hidden and wasted, again, self-forgiveness, but I have squandered or misallocated so much time or energy in my over a decade of business to hiding, because I didn't want to do the actual work of accruing rejection or risk resilience. I just decided that what I wanted to do was keep myself in a rejection free, risk free bubble. And as such, I had no impact and made no money. So I know we only have limited time and it's a great big topic, but I really, rejection, and because you're also one of my best friends, that like rejection really, really can throw me for a loop that lasts, no exaggeration, months. And has. And I try really hard not to let that happen, but I'm aware of that, like, whoa, that can really waylay me. And for entrepreneurs, it's a big freaking deal. How can we begin the process of making peace with rejection and risk so that we can go pursue more of rejection and pursue more risk so that we can show our nervous systems that we won't die and therefore become more resilient? Like, how do we start changing that relationship?
Well, first of all, I think that we need to have a reality check. And the reality check is exactly what you said just now, Annie. It's that if you experience really painful setbacks as a result of rejection, it doesn't mean you're making mistakes, doing the wrong thing, on the wrong path, should go back to hiding or masking. It means you're human. And it's also highly correlated with the traits of sensitivity and creativity. So I like to do a reality check accept this is what's happening to me, because the more you fight it, the more you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, it's kind of like, I mean, we could say what doesn't kill you make you stronger, but the reality is the more you fight it, the more you feel it. So I'm feeling rejected right now. That is not evidence that I'm a fucking loser and I should just go hide somewhere. It's because I'm human. It's because I'm sensitive. It's because all creative people are sensitive and experience rejection in a powerful way. I describe it as like your nerve endings are on the outside of your skin. Like you're just, so understanding that, radically accepting that about yourself, refusing, I'm on an R roll here, refusing to believe that that makes you weak, vulnerable, or broken, but take responsibility for it. Learn your own personal little rejection resilience resource kit. I teach techniques to my clients. Some of them work as quickly as 90 seconds to reset your nervous system, because we have to feel safe in order to take risks. So seeking safety needs to be part of our business strategy at all times. We are going to get rejected. We are going to reject ourselves. We are going to preemptively reject ourselves by not hitting publish on that blog post or the frickin' website. We're going to preemptively reject ourselves by not putting ourselves out there, by playing small, by saying, oh, I couldn't possibly do video. Bitch, we're doing it right now and nobody's died yet. So it's recognizing, are you going to let this stand between you and the fullest expression of your most authentic self? Like, I get mad at myself when I hold back now. It used to feel like safety, but like you, I not only wasted years in my business, I wasted decades of my life holding back because I thought full strength DW was going to send everybody running for the hills. Well, it does send some people running. And this is the other part that we need to understand. When people say, oh, don't say that to yourself, darling. Don't tell yourself that if you put yourself out there, people are going to reject you. They totally won't. You know what? Let's be real. Some of them will. And I'm in the let them camp. Because when we accept the inevitability that we are not for everybody, when we have stopped conforming to the norm, shrinking to fit, blending in, being vanilla when that's as far from our truth as possible, when we take the risk to say, this is who I am and how I am, this is what I have to offer. And for some of you, it's going to be, baby, where you been all my life. And for the others, you can reject me, but I can also bless and release, because you just showed me unequivocally, I'm not for you and you're not for me.
Amen. Thank you. Next. Yep.
Next.
Yup. Exactly. Terry says the ones that reject you are not for you. Absolutely. So what are some of the signs and symptoms you see when business owners, and especially neurodiverse business owners, are masking in order to be rejection averse? Like, how can you see when someone is hiding and they're not coming forth as the You-iest You in whatever formula it takes? How do you, a trained brain expert / genius, how do you see that in people where you're like, uh-oh, I think there might be some rejection sensitivity here, or uh-oh, I think there might be some risk aversion here, or uh-oh, I think this person hasn't done a lot of self-acceptance work yet? Like, how does that show up in a way that you see that maybe people can self-recognize?
So many ways, and we're going to have a lot of head nodding and gut punch feelings in the chat, I think. So many of us have done a lot of work on ourselves. We've been to therapy, we've worked with coaches, we've done personal growth work, we've done spiritual growth work, and we're like, no, I love myself. I'm good with myself. And now I'm in business for myself, and I'm just merrily, I roll along. But wait, there's more. There's always more. Is that, where do you have ideas and then instantly shut them down? Where do you, and it could be so tricky. And this as a consultant, and I know this as a coach and a strategist. You would think, I used to think, when somebody says, I'm going to hire a coach or strategist or consultant, I'm going to go be part of a program because I really want this to work. And you think, okay, they're investing the money, the time, the energy, the focus, the attention, the exposure they must be ready to face this stuff. Au contraire, mon frère, they might not. They might not. They may be going through the motions. So here's some of the things that I see. If somebody spends an inordinate amount of time thinking, ideating, planning, strategizing, choosing, organizing, getting, like, they just keep what I call fluffing the pillows. Ooh, I love you anyway, darling. But when it comes to pushing the button and putting that thing, whatever it might be, that offer, that landing page, that website, that provocative podcast episode, those new headshots in front of at least another person and risking that rejection, they keep finding reasons not to do it. And I call this, but first syndrome. Like, I have to do this, but first I have to. They're not technically the masking. Anybody can recognize that stuff. You don't need someone as brilliant as me for that. I'm talking about the more subtle stuff where most of us are like, oh, that's me. I didn't even, oh my goodness, I got work to do. It's the doing too much on the front end before we let something out of the starting gate. And listen, I know that a lot of my neurodivergents really need a lot of time to percolate and ideate and saturate and fondle. And they just need to do all that stuff. And then it's go time. But if go time just keeps getting kicked down the road, and there's just one more thing that has to be done first, there's going to be some confrontation if you're on my watch, some loving but direct confrontation, because the truth is, and this is probably for me, the You-iest You truth of all, and I've been working for myself since 2010, is that there's only so much you can figure out in your head and on your laptop. We need proof of concept. And that means we need to release it into the wild, release it into the world, and give it the opportunity, and give us the opportunity to be rejected or ghosted or to hear nothing, no sale, no dice, no licks, clicks, likes, nothing. And then say, huh. And instead of coming to the conclusion, well, I must be the biggest loser, it's like, all right, what's the next experiment going to look like? And if we keep finding reasons not to do that, it kind of ties all of these concepts together. The rejection sensitivity, the risk, resiliency, the radical self-acceptance. Like, if it never sees the light of day or the eyeballs or ear holes of another human being, you're never going to be able to figure out if it's working or not. And I hate to see people wasting so much opportunity because, and here, I hope this pisses somebody off, because this is what, I'm not kidding. This is what finally got to me. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. And I got over my own bullshit, was that, Diann, if you think about, and this is me talking to myself, this is like, how do you feel about watching people far less talented pass you by because you can't do the one thing that's going to make all the difference, and that's put that shit out in the world and see what happens?
With the risk, with the rejection, with all of it, it's still there, and we will live. We have all been rejected before. We have all taken a risk before. We are all the outliers. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So if you, like me, I'm just obsessed with this brilliant vision sitting next to me, Di, tell them about your podcast.
This is a fabulous podcast. I like to tell people, whether you're neurodivergent or not, but especially if you are, if you like the sound of my voice and what I have to say with it, you like the smarts with a little bit of snark and sass, you should absolutely check out ADHD-ish podcast for business owners with big ideas and busy brains. ADHD-ish.
I freaking love it. My conference wife, my queen, thank you for always encouraging me to be the You-iest me, the me-iest me. It is an honor, as always, walking this world and being in this rowboat with the You-iest You. You're just my favorite. And now everybody gets to see why.
I adore you.
Ditto to the moon.
Raw, real, and just a little dangerous. This is Feral.